Today we are hitting the Regulation G ranked ladder with a restricted legendary Pokemon that my wife has wanted to see for a while now, and that is Solgaleo, specifically a Weakness Policy Solgaleo. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take advantage of the fact that Solgaleo has great resistances between its Steel Psychic typing, and its bulk is going to let the few super effective hits that we can take just kind of slide right off, which means we're going to get a +2 into our attack stat, and we don't even have to worry about the likes of Intimidate or Parting Shot because Solgaleo's full metal body protects it from stat drops, which means even if we wanted to self-proc our weakness policy with Gouging Fire as Bulldoze, we don't even have to worry about the speed drop, which means our opponents will get slower while Solgaleo in comparison will get a little bit faster, which is going to be relatively nice. So we have Single Strike, which is a strong stab steel type attack that bypasses the abilities of our targets, which means if our opponent was going to survive, like say maybe with Sturdy or Disguise, we're just going to bypass that, and at +2 attack, we're fairly certain that we're going to pick up a KO with the Single Strike, which means Single Strike will just nullify the saving effect of the ability, which means we will secure the knockout. We have Stab Psychic Fangs here to remove screens, so we don't have to worry about Reflect, Light Screen, or Aurora Bell giving our opponents a little bit of extra bulk. We'll just destroy those screens, and plus, when Psychic Fangs does that, it completely ignores that defense boosting effect anyways, which means we're going to be hitting incredibly hard. And then we have Knockoff to remove items from our opponents. And we also have Wide Guard on both the Solgaleo and the Pelipper to protect the team from spread moves. Kyogre and Groudon, as well as Calyrex, all have very prominent spread moves, which means the Wide Guard will keep us safe from those. And plus, Astral Barrage off Calyrex Shadow Rider is one of the few things that Solgaleo really doesn't want to take, so we can bypass that with the Wide Guard. And if Solgaleo is the one to do it, well, we could create an opportunity for Solgaleo's partners to potentially finish off the spread move user. In the case of Calyrex Shadow Rider, we might even create an opportunity where Urshifu can go for a Wicked Blow into it instead, which would be relatively nice. So we do have that. And also one other note about the Wide Guard, and not so much for Pelipper, but for Solgaleo. If I, for whatever reason, don't want to take an attack from the Bulldoze, I can protect myself from that as well too. So just a little bit of food for thought. We have Gouging Fire here with the Heat Crash to do some good fire type damage. We have Burning Bulwark to protect ourselves and potentially burn physical attackers, which is going to be relatively nice. And then we have Howl to boost up itself, as well as either Solgaleo or Urshifu by giving them a +1 attack boost. And as I mentioned, we do have that Bulldoze for a little bit of speed control. Urshifu here too is going to definitely benefit from getting an attack boost from Howl, and if we play our cards right with Detect, we might even get a second one off, which means a +2 Wicked Blow, a +2 Close Combat, or a +2 Sucker Punch is going to just start knocking out things left, right, and center, which is going to be nice. We have Whimsicott for a little bit of speed control for the team as well, since we do have the Tailwind. We have Moonblast to hit the odd Koraidon or Urshifu that just don't want to terrestrialize and hit them for big damage, especially if it's Koraidon or Urshifu Single Strike. Rapid Strike takes it a little bit better, but it's also not 4 times weak to Fairy, so we do have the Moonblast there to do a little bit of damage. And then we have Taunt to shut down Pokemon that do want to go for status moves, so that could be relatively nice. We have Pelipper here with a little bit of rain support, so we do have to be a little bit careful that Pelipper and Gouging Fire just don't contrast with each other by being on the field. But even if they are, well, we could provide a little bit of speed control for Pelipper with the Bulldoze, or what we could do is we could go for Hurricanes with some raw damage that are going to bypass the accuracy checks in the rain. And then we have Weather Ball to also do a lot of damage while being a water type attack in the rain. But if we run into opposing weather, well, we have a little bit of coverage that will correspond with that weather. So we might end up picking up an ice type attack, a rock type attack, or even a fire type attack with Weather Ball, which could be nice. We have Tailwind on Pelipper as a little bit of a backup plan, just in case we can't bring Whimsicott to a match. And as I mentioned, we do have that Wide Guard to support the team as well. And then finally, we have Landorus here with Earth Power and Sludge Bomb for some strong single target damage, but we also have the Sandsear Storm. So Sandsear Storm, like Hurricane, will bypass its accuracy check in the rain, which means we can do some damage to both of our opponents so long as they themselves are not running Wide Guard. Anyways, guys, that's the team in a nutshell. Let's jump on into some battles. All right, let's try that again. Alright, we have a Calyrex Shadow Rider team with Indeedee, Gastrodon, Urshifu, Incineroar, and Grimmsnarl. So, Wide Guard on Solgaleo does not look so bad. We do have the weakness policy on the off chance we take a Flare Blitz or a Dark type attack. We're probably not taking an Astral Barrage, alright, but if we get the Wide Guard off, great. Knockoff is going to be really nice on Solgaleo here too. I don't mind leading it. I kind of don't mind leading it in with Pelipper, and then that way too I can get some rain up. And if I get the rain up too, I can have maybe, say, Urshifu in the back, or I could have the Landorus with the Sandseer Storm. And that's a nice chunk of cat hair. Delightful. Okay, so do I want to bring Gouging Fire? Gouging Fire might be alright here too, because I could also go for the Bulldoze, get Calyrex down a speed stage, and go for a Howl with Gouging Fire on the follow-up turn. That might be nice. I think I bring Landorus, and you know what? I think I'm going to bring the Gouging Fire just in case. We'll leave Whimsicott on the back, which means no Tailwind for me, but at the same time, we should be doing some big damage. I think that's going to be alright, because if I get a Howl boost off of a Solgaleo, great. I can go for Howl and then do some big damage with either Sunsteel Strike or Knockoff. Psychic Fangs is going to be really nice too, since they do have the Grim, so if I land a Psychic Fangs, I'm going to do some major damage that way. And the nice thing here too is, because it is Urshifu Rapid and Grimmsnarl, what I could potentially do here is I could just go for the Psychic Fangs immediately into the Urshifu. I don't dislike going for a Terra either, and then that way too I don't have to worry about potential... I don't have to worry about a potential Surging Strikes into Solgaleo, which that would do a lot. Close combat will still hurt, but I don't mind going for the Terra Grass and going for Psychic Fangs into the Urshifu, and I'm going to try to get some speed up with the Tailwind. We don't have the Whimsicott, but we do have the Tailwind support on the Pelipper just in case. So on the off chance that we get Pelipper to survive and we get that Tailwind off, Solgaleo is just going to start doing some major damage left, right, and center. And plus, if they go Reflect on Grimmsnarl, great. I'm going to break this, and they're going to look silly. So there's a U-turn off of the Urshifu, which... that does become my weakness policy too. So unless it's Incineroar coming in, this is going to be really nice for Solgaleo, because now Pelipper gets to survive. We have our Tailwind going off. Now we've got the speed in our favor. What we could potentially do is we could potentially Wide Guard if the Shadow Rider comes in. So it's actually the Gastrodon. Alright, great. So we'll do a lot of damage to that Gastrodon, and I don't dislike the idea of maybe going for a Hurricane off of Pelipper. I could try to get a little bit of damage off into the Grim. Because I am Terra Grass, I am going to resist Gastrodon potentially. I mean, if an Ice Beam comes my way, not the greatest, but I'm going to Sunsteel Strike into the Grim, and I'm going to go for a straight Hurricane into Gastrodon. I'm kind of curious to see how much damage Pelipper will do, because this is a very heavily, specially attacking Pelipper, so in theory, I should be able to do some major damage to that Gastrodon, and if I do, great. They're just going to Reflect again. That's not going to save them this time, because I have that Sunsteel Strike coming their way. It's super effective damage. Bye-bye, Grimmsnarl. Okay, as soon as I said that, I was like, oh, watch this hold, I'll move like 1 HP. But there's no light screen, so it's going to be really great for Pelipper here. So, we are going to, unfortunately, not pick up the Gastrodon, but Solgaleo hangs in there. If Urshifu comes in, great. I can go for a Psychic Fangs into either it or the Gastrodon. If Urshifu comes in here, actually, I would love to go for a Hurricane into it. It's going to be the Shadow Rider. Alright, so I'm going to go for a knockoff into the Shadow Rider, and I'm going to go for a... I'm going to go for another Hurricane into the Gastrodon and just try to finish off the Gastrodon. If we get rid of the Shadow Rider, That's a huge problem off of my opponent's side of the field. And while they do have the Reflect, Knockoff is going to do some major damage. So I do still have some Tailwind turns, which is nice. So Galio is not faster than the Pelipper, but if they think I'm going Wide Guard, they might not Astro Barrage. So they're going to protect Gastro, alright. So, we're going to connect our Knockoff. That's not going to do much because of the Terra Fairy, but it was leftovers. Oh, they might be going Trick Room. They might be going Trick Room here, because Pelipper should not be... Oh, no, never mind. I was going to say, Pelipper should not be that much faster than Shadow Rider, but it is what it is. We're going to lose Solgaleo here, but we got rid of the Grimmsnarl. We did a lot of damage into the Gastrodon, and we just found out that Pelipper is faster than the Shadow Rider. So, what I could potentially do here is I could bring in the Landorus and go for a Sandsear Storm, or I could just go for a Sludge Bomb, because there's no Light Screen, so... Landorus is definitely going to be faster than the Calyrex here, so I think I'm going to go for that Sludge Bomb into it, and I'm just going to Hurricane into the Gastrodon. If we get rid of Gastrodon, great. If they switch in Urshifu, Urshifu is not going to appreciate either of these attacks. So, this is going to be satisfying, so... do they protect with a Calyrex? They do, alright. So... what I could potentially do is I could Wide Guard with Pelipper next turn and go for a Sandsear, and then that way I can get some damage off, or I could Sludge Bomb. So we're going to connect with the Hurricane. If we pick up the... oh, we just pick up a straight knockout. Even better. Alright. So, what I could potentially do here is I could go for a Wide Guard off of Pelipper, and I could go for the Sandsear. I could just go for the straight Sludge Bomb, which I'm not going to lie, I kind of want to do that. So, we've seen the Draining Kiss, so we do know they have one single target attack. So, if they try to go for the Astro Barrage, we're going to block it with the Wide Guard here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, perfect. Now we just need the Sludge Bomb to connect with Calyrex and just get this thing off the field. That's going to be the big thing right there. So... an Ice Beam off of Gastrodon into Landorus could be really bad here as well. So, we're going to have to rely on our Booster Energy Gouging Fire, which is not the worst thing imaginable, because what we could also do is we could Weather Ball into the Gastrodon and Bulldoze. The rain is now done, so I do have a normal type Weather Ball, which means I don't have to worry about Storm Drain. So... what I could potentially do here is I could go for a Heat Crash into the Shadow Rider. You know what? I'm going to go for the Bulldoze. I'm going to go for the Bulldoze, and on the off chance that I'm not faster, at least that's a little bit of speed control. So, they're going to protect Calyrex. Alright. Because they protected Calyrex, I'm going to safely get off my Tailwind, which means Gouging Fire is definitely going to outspeed this thing. So, that should be alright at the end of the day. And plus, they did give me their Urshifu. Bulldoze wasn't strong enough to take out the Gastrodon, but we're going to get our Tailwind off now. So, we can Heat Crash into the Calyrex. I'm okay with that. I am honestly okay with that. So, I can Heat Crash into Calyrex here, and I can go for the Weather Ball into the Gastrodon. Now, if they get a double protect, that's going to be really bad for my Pelipper, because then I have to try to connect a Hurricane into Calyrex. Gastrodon's probably not going to be doing too much, and we should be able to just knock it out at that range with the Weather Ball. So, props to my opponent for the late game Meon, so now I can't switch out and reset it. So, that is really nice on their end. I will give them the credit for that. So, they do get the protect off of Gastrodon, but they didn't go for the protect off of the Calyrex, which means we are going to pick it up. We're going to get that knockout. And now Pelipper can safely go for the Weather Ball into the Gastrodon, and I think I'm all right there. So, it was unfortunate that we lost Solgaleo so early on, but Solgaleo did what it needed to do. It got the Weakness Policy, it got the Single Strike,
into the Grimmsnarl, and it also got to show off the Psychic Fangs and just removed the initial Reflex, so that is nice too. So we do have the Weather Ball to clean this up, so my opponent does forfeit. So very happy with that. I think that was a pretty good match, all things considered, especially since it just goes to show too that the team doesn't necessarily have to rely on Solgaleo for all of the damage, and plus we did get that nice wide guard off of Pelipper, and we got Tailwind, not once but twice, which is amazing. So very happy about that. Good game to my opponent. Alright, we have a Koraidon team here with Gholdengo, Walking Wake, Incineroar, Rillaboom, and Tornadus. So they have speed control, they have plenty of fake out potential, they have potential pivoting, they have the potential pivot with the Rillaboom and the Incineroar. If it's not a Assault Vest Incineroar, they could have the Parting Shot, and even if it is, they could have U-Turn. They might have U-Turn on the Rillaboom too. So, Pelipper looks really nice. Gouging Fire might not be bad either. Yeah. I could also bring the Urshifu. They have no Urshifu of their own, so I could always go for a Detect. So, I think I bring Gouging Fire, Urshifu in the lead. I think we bring maybe Whimsicott or Pelipper. Pelipper could be really nice with Hurricane, but I have to get rid of that Gholdengo somehow. So I think I'm going to bring Solgaleo. And I really like the idea of Whimsicott too, because then I can always go for a Tailwind. I mean, if I get a Bulldoze off with the Gouging Fire, that's also nice too. So we could do something like that. So I think we'll bring the Whimsicott just in case. I don't think I need the Landorus. I mean, Earth Power and Sandsteer Storm together, like if my opponent thinks I have both of those, which I mean I do, if they think that they might not bring the Gholdengo, or they might be on edge for a Landorus switch-in, which might be very handy, so they might play a little bit more cautiously with Gholdengo if they did bring it. The Koraidon, I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with it. So it's going to be Torn and Incineroar into my Urshifu and Gouging Fire. So what I could do is I could potentially go for a Howl with the Gouging Fire, and I could Wicked Blow into the Torn. I could do that, or what I could do this turn here is I could Detect with Urshifu just to get around a Fake Out, and I could go for the Bulldoze just to try to get a little bit of chip damage off into the Incineroar. So I could potentially do that. If they just go Tailwind with Torn and maybe a knockoff into Urshifu, maybe. I don't really see what Incineroar does aside from Flare Blitz, so Flare Blitz or Parting Shot is maybe the two things I could see here. They might Parting Shot off the Gouging Fire. I mean, they might have tried to Parting Shot off the Incineroar too, so we're going to get a little bit of chip damage off into the Incin. And getting an attack boost. Ooh, they had the Will-O-Wisp. Alright. Well, I want you off the field now, so we're going to click Close Combat, and I am going to click Howl to put myself back up to neutral attack. And if they want to Bleak Wind Storm me, they can Bleak Wind Storm me, because I am going to go down to my Focus Sash in that case, which, not the end of the world, and plus I can always bring in Solgaleo and start going for some support like that too. I could even go for a Bulldoze into Solgaleo, activate the Weakness Policy potentially. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily want to do that at +1 attack. No, it'll be at neutral. So, Urshifu dodged the Bleak Wind. Nice. Gouging Fire took that alright. And we're going to nail this Incineroar with a Close Combat. There's no Terra Ghost or Terra Fairy off it, so we should get this thing off of the field, which is going to be very appreciated. And if they bring in Koraidon, I don't dislike going for Detect and Burning Bulwark. Yeah, I really don't dislike that either. So, it's Walking Wake. Alright, so I might go for the Burning Bulwark regardless off of my Gouging Fire, and I might bring in Whimsicott to get my own Tailwind, or what I do is I try to get some damage off into that Torn with Urshifu, and then that way too I Burning Bulwark, keep Gouging Fire safe and healthy-ish, because I did take some damage. And then that way, too, I could just try to get rid of Torn. So they are going to hit me with the Bleak Wind Storm this time. So I'm going to go down to my stash. Sucker Punch might have been the better option. But, I mean, I'm also at a -1 defense drop, so there is that, too. Yeah, they're just going to go for the Urshifu, which, you know what, that's fine. I can bring in Solgaleo. I can go for Sunsteel Strike into the Torn. Okay, they are Life Orbs, so that's nice to know as well. Their Tailwind should be just about done, and I do have my Booster Energy, so... Let's see here. This is their last turn of Tailwind. Solgaleo can't protect. That's the only thing. I'm going to Sunsteel Strike into the Torn, and I'm going to double up into it with a Heat Crash as well. Gouging... Oh. Yeah, that might have been a bad idea, actually. That might have been a really bad idea, but... They're going to lower their special attack, which means they might switch out next turn. Which means Tornadus might be vulnerable. Whimsicott does have the Tailwind. You know what? Whimsicott could just go for a Moonblast into the Walking Wake. And it would be really nice if they brought the Koraidon and switched into it just to eat that. So that could be a really nice thing as well going in my favor. So they're at -2 special attack, which I do like to see off that Walking Wake. So... Oh, they're going to withdraw Tornadus instead. Alright, so they're not too worried about the Tailwind. There's the Koraidon. Yeah, alright. That's a little unfortunate that they switched that slot, because the Walking Wake's going to eat this Moonblast here. They're going to get a speed boost. Hydro Steam is going to go up in power just a little bit too, and so... Ooh. If I don't get burned, they just gave me my Weakness Policy. This might be alright. Yeah, this might be alright. Okay, so because of the -2 special attack drop, we take that Flamethrower really nicely. And Whimsicott's just out here just adding insult to injury by getting another special attack drop. We're at +2 Sunsteel Strike range now, so we're going to do some major damage. That's almost a KO. Okay. I think Whimsicott goes for Koraidon, and I go for a... I go for Psychic Fangs into the Walking Wake. I think I do that here. Yeah. I think that's alright. They're going to protect Koraidon. Alright, so I can go Tailwind next turn. I can go for Sunsteel Strike. Whimsicott's going to take that because of the Walking Wake. So... what I could potentially do here is I think I go for Tailwind with Whimsicott. Or what I do here, because they might just go for Tailwind with Tornadus. Whimsicott is slower than Koraidon naturally, though. That's the only thing. Okay, this is a little bit of a tougher decision here, because Solgaleo, I don't think, is going to outspeed Koraidon here. We're at 149 speed. Koraidon can hit up to a maximum of 205 without Tailwind, so they might just go for Tailwind, thinking that they're going to outspeed me. I think I Sunsteel Strike into Koraidon, but I also think I Moonblast into it too. And then this way, if they go for Solgaleo, great. This is I don't think this would be the... Yeah, this is the Torn. Alright, so... Torn's going to go Terra Steel, so maybe they were expecting a Sunsteel Strike off of Solgaleo. Which is okay, because I do have the knockoff to hit that thing for neutral damage. So... they might have went for Solgaleo here. Yeah. So this is to get around the Moonblast. All right, so I kind of wish I had Protect on Solgaleo for that reason alone instead of the Wide Guard, but Koraidon's going down here. I do get to hit them with the Moonblast in the bare minimum. Now, did I use my own Terra? I don't think I did, but I think I'm Terra. Yeah, I'm Terra Grass. I don't want that. Alright. I'm going to Moonblast into the Torn. They do miss the Bleak Wind, alright, so that is a little bit hopeful. But, unfortunately, I can't drop the weakness to flying. Okay, so that was a special attack drop, which tells me they're not Covert Cloak. I think Bleak Wind is going to connect, though. Yeah, so my opponent does get me there, which overall, that was a relatively close game with the Koraidon. I really did get a nice Sunsteel Strike off into the Koraidon when I went for that Torn, so I do like that. Now, had I'd switched my targets and the Moonblast went into Torn and they switched into Koraidon, that should have been a straight knockout. So that would have been nice. So I probably should have, because the Walking Wake was really obvious. I'm going to be completely honest. The Walking Wake switch was really obvious, which is why I did that. Had I maybe thought a little bit more about it and just went the opposite way, maybe it would have panned out differently. But regardless, I think it was a very good game, and also good game to my opponent. All right, we've got Zamazenta here with Incineroar, Pelipper, Gholdengo, Sinistcha, and Farigiraf. So they definitely have the Trick Room option there between the Farigiraf and Sinistcha, which makes me wonder if maybe the Gholdengo is a little bit on the slower side. Which, if it is, that's not too bad for me. I really like the idea of going Urshifu and Gouging Fire. I can go for a Howl, and if I do get that Howl off, great. Though that said, Urshifu or rather, Gouging Fire and Solgaleo might be a little bit better. Urshifu might be better in the back. And then that way I do have some of a bit of an offensive presence to deal with the Sinistcha and the Farigiraf. And if they lead Farigiraf, well, at least I can Bulldoze myself and then get the super effective damage that way. So I could do that too. Pelipper might be alright. And then that way I have a secondary means of Wide Guard. So I could potentially do that. Landorus looks really nice too, because then I can always go for a Earth Power or a Sandsear Storm into the Zamazenta or the Incineroar. So we could do something like that instead. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah, we'll definitely see how this works out here. And the big thing will be is depending on how my opponent leads, because I would really like to get a Weakness Policy boost off onto Solgaleo and then just nail the Farigiraf if possible. It's going to be Zamazenta Pelipper instead, so they could just go for a Wide Guard, but I don't necessarily think they would, because what spread move would you potentially see coming off of Solgaleo? Earthquake? So I think I'm going to go for the Bulldoze boost, get my Weakness Policy off, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock off right into Pelipper. I think that's what I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to get my Bulldoze off, get my Weakness Policy. Zamazenta is going to take a speed drop, which is going to be nice too. And that's actually some pretty nice damage into Zamazenta. Of course, I land a crit into myself, but at least I can do some decent damage. Okay. What I take if I give a too, because I did get a crit into the Zamazenta. But I get my Weakness Policy off. We get a speed drop into Zamazenta, and not enough to knock out Pelipper, but it was Focus Sashed, so there is that in the bare minimum. So, okay, that is not a fun turn one there. But do they Iron Defense or yeah? Okay, they do. All right.
Landorus might be nice. Landorus might be nice, but I do have the Urshifu here too. They're at +3 defense. You know what? I'm going to bring Landorus. I'm going to Earth Power into the Zamazenta. And then this way here, what I can do is, on the off chance they try to body press me, great. Or, what I do here too, is I could go for another Bulldoze into Zamazenta. And I could Sludge Bomb the Pelipper. I could do that too. Or, you know what, at this range, I think I just Heat Crash the Pelipper, and I think I just Earth Power into the Zamazenta. Actually, I'm going to Protect and Scout to see if they go for a Terra first. They might just go for a Terra just to resist Earth Power, so if they do, great. Zamazenta does get Wide Guard, so it could just be that too. Alright, so they are going to go for the Wide Guard, so Sandsear Storm's not going to affect them, but I'm going to knock out Pelipper with this Weakened Heat Crash, which is nice. And I could just Earth Power into the Zamazenta. I could also Sandsear Storm now, too. Get a little bit of spread damage. So, I could do that, too. Yeah. Sinisha's coming out here, so they could just Rage Powder, which could be bad. Zamazenta's back up to full health. So what I could do here is I could Burning Bulwark with my Gouging Fire. And I could just bring in Urshifu now. Maybe not. Alright. What I'll do, because they did just go for the Wide Guard, is I'll use Sandsear Storm just to try to get around a Rage Powder. And we'll get the Bulwark off with Gouging Fire, because then if Zamazenta goes to try to deal with Gouging Fire, what I can do here is I could potentially burn them. So Zamazenta is Terra Water, great. So I can go for Wicked Blows. I can even go for +1 Wicked Blows if this all works out according to plan. Because they're not Terra Fire, if they attack Gouging Fire, they'll burn themselves, which is nice. And that's respectable damage, all things considered. So they're just going to Body Press Landorus instead, and Landorus is going to survive. Here comes the Trick Room, which I'm not the craziest about, but it's alright at the end of the day. We have 2 turns of Rain left, so I think what I'm going to do here is I think I'm going to pop the Terra Fairy just to be able to resist that. And I don't dislike going for a Bulldoze. I also don't dislike going for a Heat Crash into the Sinisha. And I'm going to protect Landorus one more time. Actually, no. I'm going to Earth Power into... I'm going to Sludge Bomb. I'm going to Sludge Bomb into the Zamazenta because maybe they Rage Powder. I do like the idea of them maybe going for Body Press into Gouging Fire, and then if they do, great. I can get some big damage off of that way. I need to be able to survive 5 turns, and this is going to be really painful, but they're going to Life Dew with Sinisha. Alright, so Zamazenta might Body Press into the Gouging Fire slot now, so I might take this alright. Yeah, I do take that. That's a lot of damage, though. I am glad that I went for the 2 attacks into both of these, but ugh. Alright. That's 1 turn. Alright. We're going to Bulwark, and we're going to Protect. They might just Life Dew, and if they do, Zamazenta gets a little bit more HP. But if I can get these 2 off the field, we'll be all right. So there's the Matcha Gotcha, which I'm going to dodge with both of them, which is nice, which means no Life Dew for Zamazenta. If they Body Press into Gouging Fire, that's going to be huge, because I really want to get that thing burned.
It is into the Landorus slot, so I think what I'm going to do here, I think I'm going to try to get the double with the Burning Bulwark, and I think I'm going to go for the Sludge Bomb. I think I'm going to go for the Earth Power into the Zamazenta just to try to get a little bit of damage. I don't get it off the Gouging Fire, but that might be alright. There's the Matcha Gotcha. That might be enough to pick up Landorus. Oh no, Landorus held on. That's okay. Oh, I do get burned here, which means Urshifu is going to have to come in next turn regardless. Oh, Zamazenta, though. Zamazenta just got rid of Gouging Fire. That's not great. I need to pick up a crit just to knock out the Zamazenta. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for that parting gift, Landorus. We do pick up the Zamazenta. All right, so Urshifu's got the Focus Sash, so I could Wicked Blow. I'm gonna have to Wicked Blow. I could Wicked Blow into the Sinistra. Wicked Blow into Golden Go would be really nice too. Yeah. The big question here is how our speed stats are going to work out. That's the only thing. Oh, I think we still have one more turn of Trick Room. Oh, I should have protected this turn. I should have protected. Okay, there's a Rage Powder. All right. So. They're slower than me. All right. That's good to know. This should be enough to knock out Sinistra. So this should be the last turn of Trick Room right now. Depending on the bulk investment, I might be able to squeeze this out. Or there's that. All right. I got insanely lucky there with Landorus. I'm going to be completely honest. But let's just appreciate the fact that we had so many crits go off in that first game, or that first round of the game, because I bulldozed my own Solgaleo. I got the Bulldoze into Zamazenta and also got a crit, but then Weather Ball got a crit into Solgaleo as well, so that was just really not good for the Solgaleo. And then on top of that, we got the crit into the Zamazenta with the Earth Power, which I feel like the game was just kind of giving me that one, because I was like, yeah, I definitely need the crit for this, and we got it. But it is a thing with the RNG though, so I'm not knocking it by any means. And honestly, I think that was a really good game between for my opponent as well. I think they definitely played that really nicely, especially since they did get the Trick Room up, which made life a little bit more miserable for me, since I also gave them a speed boost for Trick Room because of the Bulldoze, so there is that. So anyways, good game to my... Hey, thank you guys so much for checking out this Weakness Policy Solgaleo team in action. We had a lot of back and forth here today, and overall, I'm fairly happy between the three matches. We ended up going 2-1, which is not a bad track record, and we ended up going up against Calyrex Shadow Rider, Zamazenta, and Koraidon, all of which are formidable restricted legendary Pokemon. And we also got our weakness policy activated a few times with Solgaleo, which just meant Solgaleo had the potential to do some major damage. My opponent in the first game switched out their Urshifu into Gastrodon, and Gastrodon just really did not appreciate these Psychic Fangs, not only doing some major damage to it, but also breaking the Reflect. And even when my opponent went to reset the Reflect with the Grimmsnarl, my Solgaleo still just straight up one-shot it, which was relatively nice at the end of the day. And plus, Pelipper did some really good work as well in that first game, because we got to get Tailwind off multiple times with Pelipper, and we also got to use the Wide Guard tech on it to protect us from Astral Barrage, which I am just very happy about. So we ended up having that for our game one. In our game two, we ended up going up against an Incineroar with Will-O-Wisp and Torn as the lead, and we were able to remove the Incineroar relatively easily with my Urshifu. Now, we did have to go for Protect to just bypass the potential fake out, and my opponent revealed Will-O-Wisp instead, so I am just very glad I got that off of the field. And then we ended up having a little bit of a back and forth with the Tornadus and Walking Wake, and had I called the switch on the Torn into Koraidon instead of the Walking Wake, we would have did some major damage to it with Whimsicott's Moonblast, but our +2 Solgaleo also did some major damage to the Koraidon, and I kind of wish I had gone for these Psychic Fangs, and then that way, that might have even been a knockout, but overall, it was relatively nice. We did end up losing to Terra Steel Tornadus in the endgame because it just boiled down to Tornadus and Whimsicott, and my Terra was just not going to give me any defensive benefits to that, so they did eventually just take me out, but overall, fairly happy with how that game played. And then our third game here against Zamazenta, there were critical hits flying around everywhere. In the first turn alone, there was like 3 of them because we got a critical hit into our own Solgaleo with Gouging Fire going for Bulldoze. We got a critical hit into the Zamazenta with Bulldoze. And then the Pelipper hit Solgaleo with a critical hit Weather Ball as well. So there was damage flying around, and plus Landorus got a critical hit into Zamazenta, picking up the eventual KO. Sinistcha was just a little bit annoying in that game too because of the amount of recovery they were giving back to Zamazenta between its Hospitality ability as well as Life Dew. And fortunately, it just worked out that I was able to just remove the the Sinistcha when the Golden Go came in with a Wicked Blow. The Golden Go wasn't enough to knock out my Urshifu, but that said, Urshifu also had its Focus Sash attack, so that was relatively nice. Now, if I wanted to be a little bit on the safer side, what I could have done was I could have gone for the Detect on that last turn of Trick Room, and then that way, in case they had gone for Matcha Gotcha with Sinistcha, at least then Urshifu wouldn't have went down, because that Golden Go was able to bring me down to 19 HP, which was a little bit concerning, but luckily, my opponent didn't want to test out their bulk on their Golden Go with my Urshifu, and then just ended up canceling the battle. So overall, I'm fairly happy with how that played out. Anyways, guys, be sure to let me know what you think of the team down in the comments below, and I will see you next time.